China says you can't fire someone just because AI is cheaper and they're leading in ethical AI. Mobile phone maker Xiaomi's cars are turning heads. Vietnam is quietly positioning itself in the AI infrastructure race. And Singapore is now the world's #1 country for AI adoption. Is Asia quietly winning the tech race while the West fights about it? All this in this week's tech column by Netpublik. We're into the second week of May 2026, and the story this week isn't coming from Silicon Valley. It's coming from Beijing, Ho Chi Minh City, and Singapore. Asia Pacific is moving, and it's moving fast. And today we have a number of news bites that are connecting the dots on what's happening and why it matters.
Big week, while US is still busy with the Musk versus Altman AI battle entering the second week and making marketing pronouncement to increase valuation, Asia is accelerating in tech landscape with their own pace and strengths. Let's get into it.
Indeed. So, news bite number 1. China makes AI costs an employer problem, not the workers. So this one has huge implications, not just for China, but for every market watching on how to handle AI-driven layoffs. A court in Hangzhou ruled that firing an employee because AI can do the job more efficiently is not a legal basis for termination. In plain language, the company made the choice to adopt AI, the worker didn't, so the company must absorb the costs.
It wasn't just one case and the judge favoring to this labor, instead of the companies that using AI. So Beijing court ruled the same way in a separate dispute. This is becoming precedent. We're looking at two US companies that going layoff rampage for financing AI infrastructure.
So the judge literally said AI is not reaching a point where it can substantially replace human workers, which is fascinating because it forces companies to think about retraining budgets, not severance. The word they use was objective circumstances. You can restructure if the business fundamentally change, but choosing to install an AI tool doesn't count.
This is an alert for Com and also the HR department all around the world because we already have the case where the court winning the human labor,
So this is presidents making in China, but will the rest of the world pick up on it? I think some will and some won't, because some will just focus on shareholder value, businesses must build, too big to fail, all that kind of stuff. But if the tech bros have it their way by replacing everybody with AI, who's going to be around to buy the products, buy the services? That's just it's an insane economic imbalance that cannot be fixed. So something like this is actually good. These are part of the guardrails that is ideal for business to follow because you can't let businesses police themselves. You see what happens. They police themselves, everything goes amok. Like seat belts, airbags, all that stuff came from regulation.
So I must say that India and also Philippines as the capital of the outsourcing labors in the world, they might wanna use this to counter for this AI replacement. Because you know that AI, what's the first victims of the AI replacement usually, which is the front ends like the telemarketings or or the people who do the reserves for the table and the restaurants. They outsource it to the India and also the Philippines because they are cheap. And now they are replacing to AI. If these things can be applied across the countries, well, maybe India and Philippines might be relieved.
Yep. So we'll have to see how it goes because it's very important for social cohesion in China and the rest of the world to make sure that you have people who are doing work and can afford their day-to-day activities. So replacing everybody with AI is not a good idea, in my humble opinion. Not like AI is a great tool and things like that, but come on, the macroeconomics of it you have to consider first.
But I still think that keep the best employees, give them the AI, and you will do just fine.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's get to the news by 2. Beijing launches AI ethics pilot, including roles in emotional dependence. China's Ministry of Industry and Information Technology just launched a pilot program for AI ethics review, and the scope is broader than you expected.
What caught my eye was the specific mention of emotional dependence on the AI products. They're not just worried about algorithmic bias, they're worried about people forming unhealthy attachments to AI companions and tools, which we've seen in other parts of the world as well.
Yeah, we don't want to be the person that every time we move or we do some action, we need to check it out with AI, right?
Yeah. The pilot program also discovered algorithmic discrimination. So if your AI model is systematically disadvantaging certain users in lending, hiring, health, that now gets an ethics review. So this is China building its own version of what the EU is doing with the AI Act, but faster and more operationally focused. And the fact that they see this as an important aspect for developing AI inside China itself is mind-blowing.
From my experience, AI is easy things, so we ask, they give the answers, but not always their advice comes to the right things. So I have these experiments like do this A, B, C. Which one is the best? Sometimes they put, or sometimes they choose the easiest things that they can provide for me who's asking. But it's not always the best. Sometimes I blindly take their advice and do that, and not the result is not as I'm expected.
AI right now is not perfect, and I don't think it's going to be perfect anytime soon. It's a great tool, but it's not perfect.
At this time, if we're too dependent to the AI, it's like scapegoating the AI. You make the wrong choice.
Yeah, the AI can't be responsible, so
I better blame you, man.
yeah, good luck on that one. So, Newsbyte number 3. Huawei Ascend 950, demand explodes after DeepSeek's version 4 launch. This is one that should make Nvidia very nervous. DeepSeek just released a model version, version 4, that's specifically optimized for Huawei's Ascend 950 chip. And now Chinese tech giants are scrambling to get their hands on Huawei silicon.
Which means the US export ban on advanced chips may have just triggered exactly what it was trying to prevent: a fully domestic Chinese AI hardware ecosystem.
Exactly. DeepSeek already shocked the world by building a competitive frontier model at a fraction of the compute cost. Now pairing that efficiency with Huawei hardware, it de-risks China's entire AI stack from Western supply chains. This is a turning point for domestic silicon, not just in China, but as a proof of concept for what other markets could do.
Yeah, like what you said, Fish, limitation brings creativity. And now because Chinese have limited support from the US chips, they must develop their own and make them fit to their Chinese AI machine as well.
Yeah, I mean, like competition is always good, but as you said, like you have to be creative, and they did. They have, in fact, they were the factory of the world, and they have the hardware, software, and knowledge to make it so. So, doing all these tariff stuff that didn't really work.
Yes, Nvidia doesn't have any more market in China.
That's
so
what
they say. So China develop its own chips, make the proof that these chips can work, and then they sell it to the world, maybe with a cheaper price.
And maybe us gamers can get our video cards back.
Let's move fast to the Byte 4 Xiaomi debuts YU7 GT and Vision GT concept at Auto China 2026. Shifting gears now, literally, Xiaomi Auto had a big showing at Auto China 2026. The YU7 GT is the new SUV launch end of May 2026. And they also show a Vision GT concept car, clearly positioning themselves in the high-performance electric vehicle space.
And this is, amazingly, this is the Xiaomi mobile phone maker. And they've been delivering over 30,000 EVs in April alone. This is not a startup anymore. That's scale. They've also signaled a European-based push, which puts them in the direct competition with BYD, NIO, and other legacy German brands.
And if you think that Xiaomi is only producing mobile phones, home appliances, including the vacuum robot, you're totally wrong now.
Yeah.
They're building up so fast. They're building up electric car right now. I mean, this is something that even Apple cannot think of.
They were supposed to make the Apple car. Yeah, they pulled back out of that one. So how do these guys do it? So amazing.
TVs, so everything.
Mobile
Xiaomi,
scooters.
even some what's called the little cameras, the CCTVs. They have everything. If they want to have ecosystems of these gadgets and also the big cars, they will win the world, man.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, all of this is basically based on the brand loyalty of, all of their products before. So if they push their EVs in the region the same way, aggressive pricing, ecosystem integration, it's going to be a very different competitive dynamic compared to Toyota and Honda, which are still the leaders here in Southeast Asia for automotive products. So.
Yeah, maybe if we buy the Xiaomi cars, they will give us the Xiaomi mobile phone for free.
We'll see. I wouldn't mind a test drive. So, Newsbyte 5. Intel moves advanced chip packaging from Costa Rica to Vietnam. Intel is officially relocating its advanced EMIB chip packaging lines, that's embedded multi-die interconnected bridge, from Costa Rica to Ho Chi Minh City. And their Vietnam export target for 2026? A record 14.6 billion.
Vietnam is quietly one of the most important countries in the global semiconductor supply chain right now, Fish. Because let's talk about the Southeast Asia region, yeah. Malaysia also have the manufacturer for Intel, and also in Singapore there's a Micron to be. It's still, I think the factory is in progress in Singapore, but we don't see anything in Indonesia right now. While Indonesia, one of the biggest countries in the Southeast Asia, but Indonesia is not there yet for the semiconductor.
It is a shame because now Samsung, LG, and other chip makers have deepened their Vietnam operations in the last 18 months. The US-China trade tension is essentially redirecting billions in tech investment southwards. For Indonesia, there should be a wake-up call for the pace of infrastructure and how we need to compete.
Now let's get into Byte 6, Vietnam, and AWS partner on sovereign AI and national digital infrastructure. We're still sticking with Vietnam. On the same day as the Intel news, the Vietnamese Deputy Prime Minister met with Amazon Web Services leadership to formalize a new infrastructure and training partnership. The keyword here is sovereign AI.
Vietnam is explicitly building its own national AI stack, data centers, cloud computing platforms, the works, with AWS as a partner rather than a landlord. The distinction matters. They're not just buying cloud services, they're building capability that they own and control.
Yeah, Vietnam is like a pretty lady right now in South Asia. Everybody is investing to this country, and also they becoming a bigger players also in the tech. Vietnam already has a electric car products, right?
Yeah, what was it called?
I don't know how to pronounce it actually.
Just put it down here.
And with this right now is this country in South Asia, they are moving to the direction where it can be a roadmaps of the technology.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, they're doing very, very well. It just seems like out of the blue that they like Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand. We have the manufacturing, and then suddenly Vietnam came out of nowhere and is now leading really, really fast. So that's something that we can learn. But AWS has made a lot of other partnerships as well in the other countries in the Asia Pacific. So let's just see, like Vietnam is moving really fast. Let's see what we'll end up with.
Yeah, it's a sign if AWS coming to the Vietnam, there's a sign that the country is doing so much more for the technology, cloud, AI, whatever.
Sticking to sovereign AI, SoftBank is in advanced talks with Nvidia to build sovereign AI servers in Japan. SoftBank is finalizing a deal with Nvidia and reportedly Foxconn to manufacture high-performance AI servers domestically in Japan. The goal is sovereign data processing. Japan wants to control its AI compute.
This is a massive strategic shift for the SoftBank. which has historically been more of an investor in AI companies than a hardware builder. Yeah. But Masayoshi Son has been very public about wanting Japan to lead in AI. We haven't seen it yet, but maybe this is the first step for Japan to have this sovereign AI. I think this deal will make Japan one of the few countries with domestic sovereign AI and also server manufacturing capacity in there. So they have their brains, they have their people. This is something exciting to be expected.
Yeah, I mean, combine this with the Japan Airlines training humanoid robots and headed the airport for baggage loading that we mentioned last week. This is clearly showing that Japan is accelerating its physical AI deployment agenda. I mean, they've been wanting to have robots taking care of their elderly for years, for decades.
Yeah.
And this is actually where it's really accelerating now.
I know that Fujitsu is also working with the software universities in Japan as well to make these AI models, including, I think the one that I wrote is helping the elder people to drive, something like that, drive the cars. And also there is a AI model that recognize the type of fish. So
Wow.
if the fisherman back from fishing, automatically they can count the fish and also the freshness of the fish and also the type of the fish.
Nice. Okie dokie.
And this is the last byte for this episode. Byte 8 stands for HAI Index. Singapore surpasses the US in AI adoption rate. And we saved the most striking one for last. Stanford's Human-Centered AI Institute released their 2026 AI Index this week, and Singapore has overtaken the crown from the United States for the AI adoption rates.
Let that sink in. Not AI research, not AI investment, actual enterprise and public sector adoption. Singapore is implementing AI at a higher rate than the US, driven by massive government investment and a coordinated national strategy.
So this is not an accidental. The Singaporean government has been running structured AI readiness programs for years across healthcare, finance, logistics, and government services. What this tells us that the policy is so matters as much as technology, yeah?
Yeah, and for the region, this is a signal for the rest of Asia Pacific and the world that the playbook exists. The question is execution speed and how can you prioritize it?
Can you imagine Singapore is like a small countries in the world, yeah, but it has the most productivity rates so high. So can you imagine if these people with this already high productivity added with AI, it can blow up the nation.
They always think long term, and definitely AI is going to be a long term tool. They definitely want to have their citizens ready for it. And since Singapore is also the hub for Southeast Asia, where is all the investment and where's all the entrepreneurship going to end up? And it's going to end up in Singapore. So the rest of us, we better get ready.
Yeah, all the data centers is already there. You're talking about AWS, the Google, the Microsoft, and also the China's AI data center already there as well. So Singapore playing their cards very good.
Yeah, competition is good.
And also the Singapore government pushing their citizens to use the AI. That's great. And also they providing a free program for the citizens to have this AI that you pay, I pay, and they get it for free.
Mm-hmm. There's also an internship program in Singapore where if you get accepted, they'll pay for you to learn AI, and it's actually pretty amazing. You have to be a citizen for it, of course, but the fact that they're actually really investing in that is a big warning sign for everyone else. We have to get ready to compete.
That's a wrap for episode 17. 8 bytes, one clear signal. The center of gravity in tech is shifting east and is moving faster than most Western headline acknowledge.
Keep watching China, keep watching Vietnam, watching Singapore, and the rest of the world, because the window for being early is still open for now.
We'll be back next week with more news from this region and also around the world. I'm Nur Kodri. Stay human.
And I'm Vishnu K. Mahmood. Stay curious. Tally ho.